Let's go over how Trump is using extortion to target law firms and bring them to their knees.
Law firms that have been so horrible, law firms that nobody would believe in this, just saying, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Nobody can believe it, and there's more coming.
Trump is attacking the largest law firms in the world that tried to press charges against him or any of his allies. Here are some of the biggest names he's going after because these law firms are massive. Perkins Coie, over $1 billion in revenue. Paul Weiss, over $2 billion in revenue. Wilkie and Gallagher, $1.5 billion in revenue. Wilmer, Cutler, Pickering, Hale and Dorr, $1.5 billion in revenue. You could probably argue they were bringing on false charges on Trump. This is just a political game. They were targeting him. F around and find out it's because he's so big, strong, and handsome. And sure, that's fine. We can assume those things and still be critical in this video.
Executive order for your attention. We've taken action against a number of law firms that have participated either in the weaponization of government, the weaponization of the legal system for political ends, or have otherwise engaged in illegal or inappropriate activities.
I do not care to defend these billion-dollar companies or the ungodly rich people that run them. What I do care to defend is the little semblance of freedom and life that we have left, which at this point, they're probably going to abduct me soon anyways, so here I go. In this video, I'm mainly going to focus on Perkins Coie and Paul Weiss because the way they're handling this situation could not be more opposite. The weird part about making this video for me is both of these law firms are already representing people that are corrupt, so I'm not going to try to defend them in any way. Perkins Coie represents the Boeing company, which speaks for itself. Planes are crashing. One thing that's weird about this is the Boeing company is asking Trump to let them out of a guilty plea deal that they made under the Biden administration.
Boeing is guilty. The government just punished a local airplane manufacturer with hundreds of millions of dollars in fines, and this comes after Boeing admitted to defrauding the United States.
The guilty plea deal was the Boeing company admitting its workers intentionally defrauded aviation regulations. So they lied to the people that protect us and keep planes in the air and admitted it. But after admitting it to the Biden administration, they're basically trying to go back on it through Trump and avoid criminal conviction, which is insane. And the reason why this is so important to them is because criminal convictions can foreclose or suspend a company's right to contract with the federal government and frustrate its ability to secure loans, according to Eddie Howdigi, a former federal prosecutor. To sum it up, if the Boeing company is convicted, it makes it really hard for them to secure loans from the government. And guess who's the biggest customer of the Boeing company? That would be the US government, because they get contracts to build planes and military equipment for America.
President Trump has announced that Boeing will build the next generation of fighter jets for the US Air Force. The new 6th generation fighter aircraft will be called the F-47, named after Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States.
Now, yes, do I hate many of these companies that these law firms represent? Absolutely. But Trump putting executive orders and sanctions on them as the highest official in the land is extremely unconstitutional, even if I don't like them. So that was Perkins Coie, who represents the Boeing company. Let's go over a little bit about Paul Weiss. Paul Weiss, on the other hand, started in 1950 and has defended abortion rights, gay rights, fought against racial segregation, all things I agree with. They were also the first to hire a black associate, a black female associate, and the first to make a woman a partner at a law firm. Sounds great. And then they decided to get rotted out by capitalism. And they flipped a switch and said, okay, capitalism, now watch what I can do.
And I think that flipped this switch in me where I was like, okay, you. Watch this.
So Paul Weiss was going after Google for antitrust, basically becoming a monopoly, and they flipped, meaning they started defending Google instead of going after them. Google has already lost a case to the Department of Justice for being a monopoly of the search market, and I don't need a court case to know that's obvious.
Google is a monopolist, and it has acted as one to maintain its monopoly. He took the side of the DOJ, which sued Google for illegally paying roughly $26 billion in 2021 to companies like Apple and Samsung to make Google the default search engine on millions of devices.
So Paul Weiss basically stole all the confidential information from other companies that were bringing on the case against Google and said, I'm gonna go with Google now. This is like when everyone was mad at Kevin Durant for switching to the Warriors after making a deep playoff run to create a super team. That's basically what they did. So here is my point. Trump is targeting both of these law firms by no other way to put it than extortion. He signed executive orders to target both of these law firms, which has never been done before in the US, but has sure been done by fascist dictators in history. These executive orders strip these law firms of security clearances and business within the government. This includes that any lawyers that are a part of these massive firms are booted from any federal courthouses. So Paul Weiss, just like in the Google case, they were bringing charges against Trump, and then they flipped and folded like a lawn chair and said, "Trump, Papa, please forgive me for ever saying your name without kneeling first."
Have to behave themselves. And we've proven that. We have others that want to make a settlement also. They, having to do with the election and other things, they behave very badly, very wrongly. And I appreciate the one, these are the biggest firms. And they all came back realizing that they did wrong.
They talked to Trump's cabinet, and within a few days, they agreed to $40 million in pro bono work, free work for Trump for pretty much whatever he wants. In this instance, it's targeting immigration issues such as deporting American citizens, pro-Palestinian protesters, and sending legal migrants to El Salvador to do slave labor for the rest of their lives.
You're saying that there are Venezuelans who very well may have no gang ties that are right now in one of the hardest of hardcore prisons in the world that may never get out. They may never see the light of day again.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, Paul Weiss is about as soft as they get. They agreed to this, and the executive order that Trump put on them was lifted. But that is exactly what extortion is. The definition of extortion, which is illegal, is the practice of obtaining something through force or threats. Extortion, extortion, extortion. And because Paul Weiss flipped, many others did the same. So if the people who uphold the law are folding to Trump, who the hell is going to protect us?
We begin with some breaking news. The Trump administration reached a settlement with the Skadden Arps, Slate and Meagher firm.
Milbank has now agreed to perform a total of $100 million in pro bono legal services during the Trump administration to initiatives that are supported by President Trump.
This is my main point of this entire video, is I'm concerned about the law because without the law, we have no constitutional rights. Any freedom will be robbed of U.S. citizens, immigrants. It does not matter. Your protections will be gone. Perkins Coie, however, is doing the opposite and is fighting back against Trump. Thankfully, them fighting back against Trump sparked other law firms to stand with them.
From representing people who are disadvantaged, people who can't pay, asylum seekers, former federal employees, and folks like that. And we just felt it was time to recognize that this is not just about Perkins Coie or Wilmer Hale or Jenner and Block. It's about everybody.
I mean, for the love of God, talk about a career case and bring awareness to your firm going head to head with the President of the United States. Of course, if they lose, they are absolutely cooked, but at least they're not going out like Paul Weiss.